Well, as you can tell, we have a good time here. This is my third year hosting this event. It's always so amazing. Just to give a quick welcome, this is session one kicking off here in this beautiful space here. The State 48 Foundation Entrepreneur Series is presented by Four Peaks Brewing. And so thank you all for being here tonight. And of course, virtually as well. Just a quick note, housekeeping note, if you do get up during programming, unless you want a beautiful cameo here at the camera, you're gonna exit to the side here. The restrooms are over there, and so just make your way. And so again, unless you want your like moment here on the main stage, go this way, a little cameo. All right, this session is produced by Dropkick, and we are live from the 11th floor of the beautiful One Arizona Center in downtown Phoenix. Isn't this a beautiful space? We have the nice skyline. We see Chase Field over there. My name is Lisa Matthews, to introduce myself, and I'll be hosting this evening and every single Wednesday here this month. I am so excited for this year's session. Take a little assistant here. Nick, stop that over there. All right. Now, who's stopped through the vendor village on the way in and did a little bit of shopping? I already did. I got a little necklace here from Rosa Pastel. A round of applause for all of them and the incredible local businesses and organizations. Special thanks to our vendor village sponsors, the painting company, Allure Events, and Events Rents. We'd also like to thank 1AZ Credit Union, the official local financial partner of the State 48 Foundation. We are so grateful for your support. Yes, I like that. This is hands down, like I said, one of my most favorite events that we host here with the foundation. There's always so much value and wisdom here in the room, and I always love to share this space with you all, and this year's session will be no different. Our mission here is to fuel Arizona's dreams and drive local prosperity through entrepreneurship. So tonight's kickoff session is called, as you can see here, Starting Strong, Vision to Action. I'm gonna stay right here, I think. Yeah? Okay. From vision to action, we have some incredible speakers here today ready to talk all about how you can take your idea from the vision for your business and bring it to life. But before we begin, I'd love to bring up our guy, Mike Spakenberg, CEO and co-founder of State 48 and chairman of the foundation, to tell you a little bit more about the mission behind the foundation.
What's up? What's up? Thank you all so much for being here. Lisa already said all the incredible things about this beautiful venue. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet because Marina called me earlier today, said, hey, can you talk tonight? And I said, I love to talk about State 48 Foundation, but she said I got to keep it within a couple minutes. So I wrote down what I want to write or what I want to say. So before I share even why I'm here, why I'm up here and why we all are up here, I just want to thank you, just like Lisa, to all our amazing speakers, our board, volunteers, partners, for all making this possible. It's really cool to see this vision become a reality and just see this incredible space filled with such a cool vibe. So it means the world to myself and then our entire team that you all are here tonight. So like I said, I'm going to make this as short as possible. But in 2013, just to kind of connect the dots and understand if you're not familiar with State 48 or the foundation, but in 2013, Steph and Nick and I started State 48, the for-profit, with $1,500 in a spare bedroom just to represent Arizona in a positive and fashionable way. And that's not a PC thing to say. That's not a, we've been Clothing for All inspired by Arizona since day one. Being born and raised here in Chandler, it used to genuinely upset me that like people wouldn't want to, explore opportunities in Arizona or go to Cardinal games at Sun Devil Stadium and rooting for the opposing fan, and it was just the opposing teams, and it was just like, where's our sense of pride? So the passion is real. I hope you know that, and we've always wanted to be more than selling t-shirts and hats. Obviously, we need to sell a ton of that to be sustainable and obviously create a foundation, but it's always been more than us, and we generally want to make an impact, and we believe in just being positive examples in the community, but doing so many collaborations and giving back is in every way we could. We wanted to do more, which is why we started State 48 Foundation in 2020. And I will say, shout out to everyone in the nonprofit world. I totally underestimated how much work goes in, and I still today how much work goes into starting and sustaining a nonprofit, but the passion is real to just make an impact. So our ultimate goal is just to help local entrepreneurs win. There's no BS about that. We want to see others win. Again, this is organic to State 48, starting with $1,500, not knowing what the heck we were doing, figuring things out still today. We know how hard it is. So that's why we're so passionate about bringing our community together, because we certainly don't have all the answers, but with our board and all these great speakers they're going to hear from and businessmen and women in the Valley, we want to bring groups together to be around like-minded people that inspire each other, that help each other win. That's what life should be all about. There's too much negativity in the world, and we want to lead by example and really show love for our beautiful state. So since we've started, State 48 Foundation has given almost $100,000 to grant winners, and that's been really special to us. And we have another pot of $50,000. So you all being here tonight is just part of that journey. So it's really, really special for us to continue to grow this community and really just give back in everywhere we can. So I'll kind of just end it here shortly, but from experience, money is important, but it's obviously not everything. Again, I said this 4 times already, but starting with $1,500, you need much more than just money. So hopefully this helps kickstart or, help your business in any certain way. But if, really my piece of advice would be, work your ass off, love what you do, surround yourself with great humans, because you definitely need, an army around you to help you succeed. Is take full advantage of being in this room tonight. Just because much more than money, right? All the people you connect with, all the people that are going to help you win, you need that. So in closing, if 3 dudes with no college degrees with $1,500 can build a respected organization with lifetime sales north of $25 million, 4 retail locations, an incredible nonprofit, a co-branded credit card with 1AZ Credit Union, a freaking license plate, B2B services, we've really become that one-stop shop for all apparel and design in Arizona. If we can do that, we know you guys can do that, and we're here to root you on, and I can't thank you enough for. So thank you for allowing me to talk about why State 48 Foundation is here tonight. But okay, enough from me. I get the pleasure to introduce, former grant winner, a great friend now, and board member Melody Lewis.
Oh, wow, I'm pumped. How awesome. Gamadoo. Hi. Again, my name's Melody Lewis, and I'm Mojave Tewan Hopi. And that's 3 of the 22 nations that exist here in Arizona, and 1 of 574 across the US. And I am the first recipient of the grant funding. Wow. Full circle. So I'm the founder of Indigenous Community Collaborative, and we are a consulting firm that provides services to Indigenous nations and communities in workforce development, economic development, and education. So again, first recipient of the grant funds. What this program has done for me is a lot. I came from the Fort Mojave Reservation, and that's where I started my business. And coming to a city and coming to a community that I wasn't very familiar with when it comes to the business aspects of it, coming to the Entrepreneur Speaker Series really helped me connect and gain the knowledge that I needed to thrive in the Phoenix, Arizona, or the Phoenix area. So that's what the Speaker Series has done for me. I learned about the grant funding via social media. And I was actually at a local location called Churchill, and there is a State 48 store there. And yeah, that's where I found out about the program, and I applied for it. And I just started attending the workshops, and then just gave a chance on myself and said, I'm going to apply for this and see if I win. And I won. And I was like, wow, I can't believe, what the heck? I can't believe I won, because what I pitched for and what I asked for was being a service-based business. I was kind of feeling in this like growth period, or this growth phase of like, what's next? Like, what do I do now? Like, I'm a service-based business. Like, what's the next step for me? And really it was, I'm going to try and pilot an idea where I could create a physical location where I could help other Indigenous businesses, entrepreneurs, and professionals to give them a culturally safe space. And that's what I used the funding for, to help me launch that idea. And so it was really exciting to know that what I was asking for or what I was pitching for made sense, and it really felt, how did I feel? I felt very like some type of sense of belonging. So what I care about is relationships, what I care about is community, and I'm very value aligned with State 48 in that respect. So they care about me as a person, they care about me as an entrepreneur, and now as a business. And our relationship has evolved from what you heard as a grant recipient, and now I'm the newest board member. So I'm so glad you guys are all here. Thank you for having me, and that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody, so much for sharing your beautiful testimony. And she got the Fresh Kicks memo too, you, Mike, a little bit. I don't know. Thank you. And that's just really what tonight's about. And to see grow throughout, being a grant recipient to sharing the stage last year. It's just been great to watch you, Melody, just continue to grow. Now, I'm sure you're wondering how you will be able to be the next grant winner. Who wants a slice of that $50,000? Raise your hand. Yes, we are awarding $50,000 in grants again this year, which is so incredible. Now, in order to be eligible to apply, please make sure that you follow these specific guidelines. So listen up. You must attend at least 3 of the 4 speaker series, either in person or virtually. But trust me, you're going to want to be here every week here this month. So mark your calendars. You also have to complete at least 1 post-session survey, and these will be emailed to you after each session, and also complete an application once they become available on August 30th and submit by closing date of September 20th. That's a lot of information, but of course you will receive this via email as well. So please take note as well. We've ramped up our entrepreneur grants program, and this year we'll be looking for specific things for you to meet some criteria. You will have to be a for-profit business based in Arizona, as well as at least in business for 6 months and generating less than $500,000 in annual revenue. So again, if you have any questions, just make sure that you visit the vendor village at the end. We do have a booth to explain all of that, and check online at www.sfef-speakerseries.org. Now, before I introduce our first speaker, I wanted to remind everyone that there will be an opportunity at the end for you to ask any questions. We have a Q&A portion. So throughout this, make sure you're just taking the notes that you can save for later. And then after the main event and programming is over, we ask that you do exit and mix and mingle. We have a great vendor village to get to that will reopen at the end. So without further ado, I am excited to introduce our first keynote speaker of the night, Monica Lobos. There we go. So if you can make your way up to the stage, Monica is the president. Yes. A quick bio on her. She said, make it short and sweet, but she has such an impressive resume. She is the president and CEO of the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. She is responsible for the strategic growth initiative for the chamber, and she has a unique combination of skill, talent, and broad experience. So Monica, take the floor.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. I love the vibe in here. It's awesome. And I know all of you do as well. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you to State 48 for all that you do for entrepreneurs. Again, my name is Monica Villalobos, and I serve as president and CEO of your Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We do a lot of work. We've been here for 75 years, since 1948. So believe me when I tell you, we know all the mistakes. We've seen it all done before. And so I'm going to share a little bit of that with you today. First, I have a question. How many of you come from greatness? Come on. How many of you come from greatness? I want to hear it. You all come from greatness. It is part of our origin story. It is part of who you are. It's been passed on from generation to generation. And it's just as much a part of you as your DNA. And that's something we all have to remember. I want to tell you a story about a young woman in 1942 not me. In 1942, she was 18 years old and she didn't speak the language. She lived in a small little border town and she met a GI and they fell in love and they got married. And then a month later, he got deployed. He went off to the war, and a couple months later, she found out she was expecting their child. And she was elated, and she tried to send messages. And, communication was difficult then. And so the message didn't really get out to him ever. And so she would scour the MIA and KIA newspapers and lists to see if she saw her husband, hoping that, of course, he would not be on any of those lists. Well, she's about 8 months pregnant, and she's looking at one of those lists, and guess whose name is on it? It's her husband. And she's devastated. Here she is, small town, all by herself, doesn't speak the language, 8 months pregnant, about to give birth, and a widow. So you can imagine the amount of courage and the amount of strength she needed to move forward. She gave birth, and when her daughter was about a year old, lo and behold, who comes walking down the main street of the town? Her husband. So apparently he had been left for dead. He caught malaria and was left for a year, was able to recover, was finally able to rejoin a troop in the army, make his way back. And so she thinks she's seeing a ghost, but oh my gosh, everything she had endured to that point. So I wanted to share that with you because it does have a happy ending, right? They live happily ever after. They're married for decades, and it all works out. But that was my grandmother, and that baby was my mom. So I know I come from greatness. I know that strength and that courage is what gets me through every single day because it's in my DNA. And today we're going to talk a little bit about finding your why. And there are kind of 4 different things that I want to share with you very quickly and share, just little anecdotes to give you an idea of how I came up with these things. So the first one is, why not is not enough. And so we're going to get a little personal. My first marriage was what they call a resume marriage. And it looked great on paper. And I could not think of a single reason not to marry this person. And so I said, why not? Well, guess what? That wasn't enough. I never asked the most important question, which was why. So always ask why. Why not is not enough of a reason for you to do something. You have to be compelled. You have to be, passionate about that reason. And so don't ever marry anyone because you're like, why not? Not a good thing. Learn from my mistakes. The second thing is trust your instincts. You are a subject matter expert on you. And so when you think about the decisions that you're making about your business, about your career, all of those things come down to instinct. Also part of your DNA, right? We've learned how to do that. Now we have to learn how to trust ourselves. I was working for the NFL in 2005. Some of you may remember that in 2005, the NFL played their first NFL game off US soil. It was in Mexico City. It was the Cardinals versus the 49ers. Does anybody remember this? You're all too young, aren't you? Oh, God. So it happened. And I remember I was consulting with them. I was preparing their 2006, 2007 Hispanic platform. They had never put a Hispanic plan together. So this game was really the launch of that. And they really wanted to do it right. And so they called me in and they said, we have this game. We're doing the promotions. We're doing the marketing. And we have a tagline. We have a few taglines that we want to run by you. And So I said, sure, absolutely, I'd love to. And a lot of them were retired football players who were now executives in NFL. So it's like me and these like 6 huge NFL players, right, who are now in the marketing department. And the list in Spanish, I can tell you, well, I'll tell you the least offensive tagline was NFL, el fútbol verdadero. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, it's NFL, the real football. And so I took a very deep breath. I reached into my instinct and I was like, I'm going to stop World War III. That's what I'm going to do. I have the opportunity here to do that. And so they said, what do you think? And I said, I think this is a really good way to start World War III. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, well, let me get this straight. You're going to go into the Temple of Soccer, Azteca Stadium in Mexico City, and tell 90,000 Mexicans that NFL is the real football. To their credit, they listened. They ended up coming up with a very innocuous and neutral tagline that was NFL Fútbol Americano. Simple, sweet. And that, my friends, is how I stopped World War III. The other thing is really having a sense of humor. When you are an entrepreneur, when you start a business, you better have a really good sense of humor because this is going to take you to places that you never thought you would be. And if you can't laugh at yourself a little bit, it's going to make everything a lot more difficult. I remember when I first became a mommypreneur. And so I'm running a business. I still have a full-time job. I have 2 small children, and it is taking a village, right? And I remember getting home one day, my boys were 3 and 5, and my mom was hysterical. Mónica, estos niños, no puedo creer lo que hicieron. And she's like going off in Spanish, like super, super crazy. And she said, the big one, the 5-year-old, put the little one in the clothes dryer. And she's like, he could have done, oh my God, this is, Mom, I got this. I got this. I'm going to pull on my instinct, my, generational DNA greatness, and I'm going to make this a learning lesson. And she's like, you try that. She's like, 'cause, she would have just used the chancla. And so I said, okay. And so I went up to my 5-year-old and I was like, honey, do you know why it was a bad idea to put your brother in the dryer? And I kid you not, this kid thinks about it and then with a straight face looks at me and says, I'm sorry, Mommy, I forgot to put the bounce in. What do you do with that? What do you do with that except laugh? You're stressed out, you've got everything work, but if you can't laugh a little bit, it's going to be that much harder. So really having a sense of humor is that third thing. And the fourth one, probably the most important one, and here's the big reveal for you. You are the why. You are the why. And I hope that makes sense to you because if you don't know what your why is and that you're it, you're going to have some moments like when your kids stick each other in the dryer that you're not going to be able to get past if you don't understand that you're it. I know the group was talking about Simon Sinek, and one of the things he says is that people don't do business with what you are. They do business because of your why. I totally butchered that. It's people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So it's not a title. It's not, oh, you're president and CEO, or you're a mommypreneur, or you're a mom and your kids. Because let me tell you, those kids have now become teenagers and I still ask if I can eat them. But apparently it's too late. So really understanding what your why is so important because you are going to have to be able to suspend reality. You're going to have to be able to believe in the impossible. And that means believing in you. And it really does take a great amount of grace for yourself. So you have that sense of humor. You know why not. You also have been able to, have that instinct kind of come in, and you're able to suspend reality because entrepreneurs, you have to be a special kind of crazy. You really do. Because people are going to look at you like you're crazy. And when you try to innovate, people are going to be like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? An ice hockey team in Arizona? Oh my God. We won't get into that. So then I can remember finding this out because my mother went on to own a retail store, a children's clothing store. And I remember in 1 year, the store was robbed 3 times, totally cleaned out of inventory. I mean, granted, it was in a bad neighborhood, but still, they came in 3 different times in 1 year and cleaned out the inventory. And each time she had to buy new inventory to sell. So by the 3rd time, I figured this is it. We're out of the game. We're not going to do this anymore. And I remember her thinking, and I thought, God, she's so sad. I'm going to go comfort her. And I said, Mom, it's okay. You tried and you were out there, and I'm so proud of you. And she's like, no, ¿sabes qué? We're going to start a bridal store. I'm like, what? Like, are you delirious? Like, what do you mean a bridal store? You just got cleaned out 3 times. That's the special kind of crazy I'm talking about, right? And you have to be able to believe those things. Let me give you some quick sobering stats. 1 in 5 businesses fail by the 1st year. 45% fail after 5 years. 65% don't make it to year 10. And only 25% of new businesses make it past 15 years. We know that most entrepreneurs will start 4 to 5 businesses in their lifetime. And so the important thing to remember, and I know this is a bit of a paradox, but the most successful businesses fail a lot. So don't be afraid to fail. Own that. I remember being at a presentation, and a young woman in the back of the room said, when do you stop being afraid? And I said, never. You never stop being afraid, but you do learn to channel that fear, to make it productive, to make yourself successful, whatever that is, whether it's your company, in your career, in your family, etc. So I just want to remind you of these a few things. 1, find your greatness. It is in your family. You all know that you come from greatness, and own that. Be unapologetic about that. I always say I'm exceptionally flawed and unapologetic for it. The other thing is, when you get that fear, do it scared. Do it anyway, because you're not alone. In fact, you've got all these organizations, all of these colleagues that are doing the same thing. So just hang tight and push through it. And then finally, and the most important thing is what I said earlier. You are the why. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica, for that colorful speech. I loved it so much. Definitely can relate to the chancla and the little kids drive me crazy during this mamapreneurship here. But thank you again. Next, I'd like to bring up Brandon Michaels. He's president and CEO of 1AZ Credit Union. Now, to read a bit of his bio, Brandon leverages over 20 years of leadership experience in banking and finance to inspire a purpose-driven organization that puts the consumer at the center of all decisions. And to super speed through this, I just wanted to note that he is also a pilot, scuba diver, avid traveler as well. You got to listen to our podcast, because what else does he not do? Like, he does it all. So please welcome Brandon to the stage.
Hey guys, how's every? Whoa, this is bright. How's everybody? Good? How about Monica up here? Well, it's an honor to share the stage with Monica, a true trailblazer, our panel that's going to be up here later. I'm honored to be asked to come up here. You could have found 1,000 other speakers that are more qualified to give you some insights, but each of you, kind of following on Monica, each of you embodies the spirit of entrepreneurism. You wake up every single day destined to create a product that's extraordinary, right? A product that can transform lives, a product that can transform communities and perhaps even the world. You guys are change makers, you're doers, you're dreamers. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can take that vision that you have and channel it into action. But before I do, I want to take you back a little bit to my childhood. I grew up in Northern California, and I grew up in a family that was deeply entrenched in banking. So it was only natural that I could not follow my passion and become a marine biologist or a pilot, because I had to follow in this banking thing. But I saw my mom and my grandma were both CEOs. And I witnessed firsthand the passion that they have for people. It's what guided them. It was their why. And they had a passion for transforming the lives of their customers. Transforming the lives of their customers. And credit unions and other local financial institutions, they focus on the customer. They focus on the communities more so than the profit. So what I want to tell you is, I saw the passion that they had for people, but as I grew more experienced, I saw also the many pitfalls that they had in the business model. And the pitfalls that I'm going to share with you are, they transform, they go across industries, they go across businesses, they go across people. And that is, too many try to be all things to all people. Too many try to be all things to all people. And what that does is it stagnates growth, it dilutes your value proposition, and it takes you away from why you wanted to do this thing in the first place. So I hope that with a couple of the things that I'm going to share with Monica and everything that you learned there with the why, the panel later, that we'll avoid some of those pitfalls. But remember that every great achievement starts with the vision. And what is vision? Vision is the ability to see beyond the present. So it's the ability to see a future that you want to create. It's the ability to see a future that you want to create. So vision is incredibly important, but vision without action is just a dream. And one of the quotes that I love that really highlights this is from Joel A. Barker. He was an author, or is an author, but he's also one of the first people that brought this idea of paradigm shift in corporate America. And what he said was, vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision merely passes the time, but vision with action can change the world. So we're going to talk a little bit, because the title is Vision to Action, is what does it take? And how you take your vision to action is through strategy. And I learned early on in my career this idea around strategy, but I always conflated strategy and tactics. And it's no wonder that I confused it, because I always heard my mom and my grandma talk about, I'm going to strategic planning. They would always disappear for 3 days or something like that and go with their boards and do strategic planning. But as I grew more experienced, there is no such thing as strategic planning. There's no such thing. There's a difference between strategy and tactics. And we try to put those two together because it sounds really cool, but it's very different. Strategy and tactics, or strategy and planning, are two wildly different things. Strategy is your overarching direction of the company, the thing that guides your decisions. But the tactics are the nuances and the initiatives and the action that you're going to take to accomplish that. And it's really important to understand that, because a lot of businesses struggle with where that is and why it's so important. One of the things that is also important to know is as you're starting off, and you're building your company, or you're starting off like with Mike and other companies here with not so much money, how do you get going? How do you get going? And we all have this desire to be perfect, but it's an ideal that we will never live up to. And when I first started at 1AZ, I really tried to encourage agile, an agile mindset. How many of you have heard of agile? Yeah, so for a long time, agile was like in this IT thing, and it was, project management and all of that. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do agile is because I saw so often that we took a measure, cut approach to product design, product innovation, service delivery, or just flat decision making. And so this idea of perfection is something that drives us, and that's going to drive you to greatness. This idea that you want to create a product or a service that is going to transform your business, your community, and your customers. But it's the iterative development that makes the thing happen. We always strive for perfection in everything that we do, but we're never going to live up to that ideal. But I promise, if you focus on iterative development, if you focus on just little improvements over time, you'll be further ahead than where you ever started. And the thing to note is that perfection is the enemy of progress. I say it all the time inside 1AZ, but perfection is the enemy of progress. It hinders innovation. It hinders your progress towards your end goal. So it's really important to understand that. Another common trap that I see in both 1AZ, but also in some consulting that I do, is companies that try to do the cool thing. And the cool thing might be cool, but it takes you off your game. And it's this idea of what? Scope creep, right? You guys know scope creep? And when you're a new business and you're starting out and you don't have much money, it's really easy when you're talking to people like this, or you're talking to businesses, well, you should do this, or you should do this, or you should do this. And what it does is it really dilutes your value proposition, really dilutes the value proposition. So stay focused on your goals and your strategy. Evaluate everything that you do against your core objectives, your strategic alignment. And some ideas of shiny objects: unplanned features of your product, your app, your service, whatever, unplanned features that you have, expanding product lines prematurely, chasing trends. I was talking earlier about, how do you know if something that you want to do is a trend, or if it's actually coming right at you, right? So really focusing on chasing trends. And one of the things that I love that is super common is you have the product, you have a customer on the line, and you promise everything. You promise unnecessary customizations just to get the sale. And it's noble, but it's hard to really scale a company when you're making unnecessary customization. So focus on the strategic objectives and avoid the diversion of resources that those things do. One of the things that I focus on at 1AZ is to know your audience, know who you're trying to serve. And I know that there's a variety of entrepreneurs in here, some who have really, really successful businesses, who once were an entrepreneur, other people who lead larger organizations. Some people have a dream and a vision. But one thing that is really, really important is to know who you serve. And at 1AZ, anybody who lives or works in Arizona could be a member. And that's an aspirational target audience. Aspirational target audience. There's 7.5 million people in Arizona. But what should our products look like if we're serving all of Arizona? What features should we have? Well, I don't know, because everybody is unique in Arizona. And so what we end up doing is, in businesses and credit unions and in the like, is we end up innovating to the lowest common denominator. it doesn't have mass appeal, so I can't do that, or I can't do this because I'm going to alienate this group of people that got me here, right? But really stay focused. Really stay focused on what your strategy is. Look at the environment that's out there. Look at the market opportunity, and really get to know your target audience. And so now, anytime that we go into market with a new product, with a new branch, we know exactly what our target market wants. And what that's going to do is it's going to save you a heck of a lot of heartache. It's going to save you a heck of a lot of money. But it also has to be paired with where the market opportunity is. I have one of my leaders here who heads up all the data and the analytics for 1AZ, and she is instrumental in helping us decide where to place our branches and what kind of products that we need that serve the target audience. So that's a huge lesson for entrepreneurs, is really focusing on who your target market is. An example of that is Target, Walmart. They sell the same stuff largely, but they have two very, very different markets, and they cater to that inside of their stores where they place their products, etc. So know your target. I can't talk about vision and action and strategy without talking about this, and my team knows this as well. You have to figure out where you're going to create market value. Have to figure out where you're going to create market value. And what I see is, are you going to go to market with differentiation, or are you going to compete on cost? Right? You can't do both. But I see businesses try to do that all the time. They try to compete on both. They want to be the lowest rate in our situation, and they want to create an exceptional experience. And you'll never see a business that competes on both. Like successful, enduring business. They may be successful in the moment, but they're not going to be successful over time. So if you think of brands like REI and Apple and Nordstrom and Disney and Bonobos, they all compete on market differentiation. But Walmart, they all compete on what? Cost. And you're never going to see a business that tries to compete on both. So it's really, really important to know that strategy is about choice. So you have the vision in your head, you have the strategy, you're talking about your target audience. Now you're talking about whether or not you go to market with differentiation or cost. Now we have to talk about the alignment of your team. And whether you're serving and you're leading a large group of people, or a couple of partners, or maybe even just a couple of vendors, having everybody aligned with your vision is critical. Everybody heard right people on the right bus, right? And it's a cool thing to say, but really it embodies this idea that everybody has a passion, and we have to align that passion with what your vision is. And sometimes our empathy gets in the way, and we don't want to make those critical decisions. And sometimes it means realigning people in your organization. But it's critically important. It's going to be a really, really tough slog to go through your journey if you don't have everybody aligned. Sometimes that means realigning people. Sometimes it means helping people find a new bus. And it's not good or bad. It's just something that you have to be cognizant of in really building your business. Same thing goes with vendors. There's a lot of vendors and partners out there, and I know I have many of them in the industry that I'm friends with, but I'll never do business with them. And it's not because I don't like them, it's because they don't align with where I'm taking the organization. And so you have to be really, really critical in how you build your business. I want to leave this with you because I'm going to get yanked off the stage here. I'll leave this with you. It's hard. Entrepreneurship is hard, right? But you have a special, just like what Monica said, there's something special inside of you. You're going to face your challenges. You're going to face obstacles. You're going to face roadblocks and all of that. But know that you have all of these people in the room. You have the entire state that is literally behind you. I am certainly available for anything that you need. But embrace the challenges and the roadblocks and the stumbling things as learning opportunities, because you will iterate and grow, from that. The thing that I'll leave you with here is something that really resonates with me. And you are all here because you have a vision for something. Product, service, a better America, a better Arizona, whatever it is, you have a vision. And that vision is going to ignite your journey. or already has ignited your journey. But action, the steps that you take, the strategy is what defines your legacy. So really, really be very, very conscious about the steps that you take, hone in your strategy, hone in your vision, and know that all of us here are with you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Give it up one more time for Brandon for that amazing keynote. Gosh, already so much value, and we're really just getting started because now we're about to have a panel discussion here on stage. Brandon will be back on stage, so take a little sip of water. Have your break right now. You're a little parched. I know. I get it. Speaking is hard, right? It's hard. And we're going to have a few more people join us here on the stage, some added value and expertise. So now introducing, we will have Lisa Lund, aka the broker Barbie, I like to call her. She is owner of Lisa Lund Mortgage Team, and Allison Devon, founder of T Sparrow, joining myself and Brandon to the stage. I got to get this mic ready here. This one. Other chair, Lisa. Two Lisas here. It's going to get a little confusing. No. We will just put down this mic here and really just have a great open discussion, what I like to call a fireside chat. I don't know if y'all, how many people have listened to the State for Day podcast? So much. I love it. Look at that. So really, this is a live podcast, if you will, and just sharing your guys' journey. Again, so much insight already here tonight. But before we begin, I would love you guys to just introduce who you are, what you do, a little snippet of your background. So we'll start with you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Allison Devon. I'm the founder and CEO of Tea Espresso. I've been in business for 10 years. I have a patent on making tea like espresso, and I was on Shark Tank for that. And I also create these like infused cubes that make cocktails, mimosas, and flavored lattes. And I have a manufacturing business. I sell B2B, and we're in big box retailers nationally, internationally, Total Wines, Anthropology, a bunch of fun stores like that. And we also sell direct to consumer. And I actually started my business here in the streets of Phoenix, selling on a laundry cart from a garage sale and a piece of scrap wood, and built it into a multi-million-dollar business on my own. So.
So why the hell was I on stage and not you? I'm Brandon again, CEO of 1AZ. I was born and raised in Northern California and have had the honor of leading organizations in Houston and Kansas City, and working with some Fortune 500 companies, startups on strategy and consulting. I have twins, 13-year-old twins, and
Do everything.
Lisa already said.
Hi, my name is Lisa Lund, and I am the owner of Lund Mortgage Team. I am a mom of 4, and I've been in the mortgage industry for 25 years. Yes, I've seen it all, ups and downs. In fact, my husband and I worked together, and we got married in 2008. And those of you who know about the mortgage industry, 2008 was not the best of times. So I feel like if we could make it through that, we can make it through anything. I'm also a dance mom, and that's even harder. So
Oh, that sure is.
if I can make it through being a dance mom, I figured I can face anything and conquer it.
That is so true. I love it. Well, tonight, obviously, we are talking heavy on, the vision and the why factor. And I've heard this before. Your why has to make you cry, right? Have you guys heard that before? But it doesn't always have to bring immediate tears to your eyes, but it does have to come from a place of passion and wanting to pursue something that wakes you up excited every single day. I know there's people here in this room sitting here today. They just can't wait to live out that vision. But for you specifically, what is something that gets you going in the morning and passionate about living out that why every day and serving the people that you do?
Well, being in the mortgage industry could kind of sound boring, right? I've been in it. I like to say I was born in it, but really my dad started the mortgage business. And in the 80s, they had something called Bring Your Daughter to Work Day. They were trying to support women in the work field. So I was 8 years old. I went in and I saw the salespeople, and then I saw the ops team, and I sat with the ops team because I really enjoyed being with them. Well, that year for Christmas, I asked for a 10-key calculator and a typewriter so I could play bank, but my two sisters never wanted to play with me. Fast forward, getting in the mortgage business, I did everything from being a receptionist to junior processor. I worked my way up. And when I got my way up, I saw something in the mortgage industry that I didn't understand. And that was sales was always put above operations. You know, sales would come in and drop all the work off to operations and they'd go out golfing, or they would get all the free trips. They would win all the awards, but yet operations was back in the office making things happen. And if there was something that went wrong, the first person to blame was operations. It was never accountability. So I wanted to start a mortgage company that was different. I wanted to have equality with sales and operations because I feel like if it's a marriage, you're doing the best thing for the client and they're going to feel that and they're going to see that. That's my why.
One of the things that I have on my in my computer is my why is to energize organizations and elevate people. And so, you know, when the going gets tough, because there's a lot of stuff that happens, it's that it's energizing organizations and elevating people.
That's good. So my why, I have a couple of whys. You know, I just really wanted to do something that I could wake up every day and be like, yeah, I want to do this. And so I remember before I've always wanted to start a business, I think. And my dad was like, well, if you get paid $1 million to do anything, what would you do? And I was like, make coffee, duh. I love making coffee. I love doing latte art and seeing the joy on people's faces, just something so simple and something that brings people joy and like the simplicity, like it's a slice of life kind of thing. And so I'm like, that's what I want to do. And so that's kind of my why. I want to chase what I really love to do. And I just love bringing people happiness through little pieces of joy. So whether if it's our tea, whether if it's our cube, and you know, I just really have I want to innovate and push the envelope and encourage others and inspire others to innovate and think creatively too. So I've always wanted to have a workplace where we facilitate that, and that's the why.
Would you say, that's amazing answers. Would you say, Allison, just sticking on that, you know, through your journey and through the growth of your biz, could your why be flexible and shift and change? Or how do you kind of go through that journey of it might not be, what is, you know, starting something that I want to sell coffee. It sounds fun, but truly at like the depths and the root of it, could it shift and change through your journey as well?
Oh yeah, like I mean, you just go through different phases of life, and you know, I'm a new mom now with a 6-month-old, and so you just kind of go through different personal journeys. And I feel like as an entrepreneur, there's as you go through stages of life, you learn a lot about yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your hubris. For me, you know, like who am I? You know, my ego's been crushed several times. But you know, and I have deviated. I think someone here was talking about shiny things. I've deviated to shiny things. Hey, but I think what brings you back, like, and being an entrepreneur is really tough. It gets really dark sometimes. And what brings you back to your path, I think, is the why. And so, has it wavered for me over the years? Not really. Have I lost my way from it? Absolutely. But always focusing and bringing back to, I think, is what keeps me grounded. But I think, if anything, the why has just developed to a deeper meaning of the why. And I've appreciated the why over the years because of the work that I put in. And so now it just means more to me.
Thank you. Brandon, could you give an example, going back to your why, of a challenging time in which a decision had to be made and you had to go back, almost like that core belief or your value within your why that you had to go back to and remember in navigating business?
Yeah, remember my why is energizing organizations and elevating people. And, one of the things that I know about myself is that when I get focused, I'm really focused on it. But deep down inside, there is this passion for people. And I have a lot of empathy for people. And I know that anytime that you're making a decision that's best for the company, best for the membership, best for Arizona, that it's going to impact someone. It's going to impact people. It's going to impact family. It's going to impact, their family life, their income, everything else. But I always have to keep coming back to what I said earlier, which is you have to align the organization and you have to put people in the right spots that even though it might hurt in the moment, if it's not right for your vision, chances are they're miserable too. Right. And so that's what I have to keep trying to tell myself is, does it sting in the moment? Absolutely. It stings in the moment, but, you're trying to elevate them. You're trying to coach them. You're trying to, empower them, but ultimately it has to be a meeting of those two things. And if it's not, then, then you have to move on. So that's hard for me to do. It's the most painful thing that I have to do, but I keep going back to, what my mission is as a leader.
I once heard something on it that someone said, this isn't serving me anymore, this business or this opportunity or this job. And you have to flip it as entrepreneur. It's not about it serving you, it's how you're serving your people and the people that you service through your product or your business. And I know, Lisa, you had such a strong vision and what you wanted to start with the Lund Mortgage team. How do you make sure that, yes, you're living out your vision, but you also have the players around you to live that out with you as well and align with you?
I think it's just showing my passion, being there with them, them knowing that they can trust in me and I can trust in them. We're on the same level and they believe in what I believe in. I think that is the main key, is that we're on the same team. We're not against each other. No one's above each other. Like I said earlier, I saw so many things in the mortgage industry that really I was like, you could help the consumer so much more and help people get into homeownership if you just did this together. And I feel like my team, I lead the team with that passion and they believe in me and I believe in them. And I tell them that I believe in them just as much as they believe in me.
Now let's talk about some mistakes. Hot seat time. Ooh, I think everyone here wants to know, because we talk about entrepreneurship being, the ups and downs. You have to embrace the failures in that. Brandon, are you willing to share some mistakes in this and how in your journey and how you've kind of just overcome that, keeping your why?
I don't know that you can live life without making mistakes. And I have made a ton of them. But I always try to learn from the mistakes. And sometimes, like Winston Churchill says, success is not final, failure is not fatal, right? It's the courage to continue. And when I left, so I was in Houston before Arizona, and I left Houston before I was ready to leave it. And that it crushed me. It crushed me. And it goes back to kind of what I said earlier, which is it has to be an alignment too. It can't be an alignment of my team with me. It's also got to be alignment with me and my bosses. And so that it crushed me when I had to face the realization that I needed to leave Houston. And there was a whole period of 6-8 months where I had to self-reflect. You'd cry, you do all the emotions. But I kept going back to, there was a few people in my life who said, you're doing good work. You're doing good work. The industry needs you. They need the innovation. They need the, and so that's what kept me going is the people, but also going back to what I have on my computer, which is my superpower is energizing organizations. And the industry, the banking industry, the credit union industry needs that. They need innovation. They need energy. They need strategy and passion. So that's what kind of keeps me going.
I saw Allison's eyes going up thinking about yeah, you want to share some mistakes there?
Lots. Yeah, I love that Will Smith quote. It's like fail faster. The faster you fail, the closer you get to it's necessary to succeed, in my opinion. So I'm like, oh, yeah, another one. That means something good's around the corner, coming sooner or later. I think the biggest failure or mistake or something like that I've ever had was actually after Shark Tank. I was on national TV and I was crying on there for 30 minutes, just uncontrollably. It's amazing what they can do in like a 5-minute clip when you're out there for an hour. And, I didn't prepare. I just walked in there and didn't really practice, didn't really do anything. At the time, I just started my business 3 months ago. I was like, I'm the top of the world. And, and I just remember they send like a shrink to your room afterwards and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm just like, and my dad's like, "She's fine. She's fine. She's fine. We're just gonna drive home." They're like, "We think you should stay here. We don't think you're okay." And I was like, "No, no, no, no." And my dad's like, "No, we're going home." I was like, "I need to go home. I need to think about it." And I haven't watched Shark Tank probably in 5 years. I couldn't watch my own episode because I was like, oh my gosh, major F up, like I just on national TV and crying and it's awful. I didn't prepare like who might have think I could wing it. And it took me probably like what 6-7 years to be able to watch my own episode. And by the time I was ready, watching myself, it was a very emotional experience. I was like, wow, I just didn't know what I didn't know, and kind of like you said, like when you make mistakes, it's about like what you learn from them and how you grow better. Like I encourage in my workplace to make mistakes. Just don't make the same one over and over and over, right? And sometimes you just make the mistakes and you're just like, where's the why? How do I improve from this? How do I get better? And for the Shark Tank one, it took me years to figure out. I was like, I just didn't know what I didn't know. Like I did the best that I could at the time with what I had and what I knew. And that was my best, and that's okay. And I'm very proud of myself to see how far I've come from it. And I learned a lot from that moment from watching myself again. I was just like reaching out to my old self, just saying like, oh, it's okay.
Wait, give us the tea. No pun intended.
Haha, that was good.
Give us the tea here. Did someone make you cry or was it just the overwhelming experience?
It was very overwhelming. You're just, you're in a hot box. You're there. I forgot how many hours I was there, just in a room by yourself, and they throw you up. It's real. You actually meet them for the first time. They're like, just keep walking through the doors. The doors won't hit you in the face. You're fine. And you see them, and then they're just like barking at you, and I'm just like, whoa. And you're like, trying to finish a sentence and another one's barking at you. I'm like, whoa, I wasn't prepared for this. And so it's like I'm not really quick on my feet. I'm a slow processor, so that was really hard for me to do. And it was also really frustrating because I didn't really freaking understand what I did. And I was like, I've explained this to 5-year-olds and they get it. Like I was literally like, you guys are wasting my time. I shouldn't be here. Like, like
Sell coffee.
right, exactly. Like, you want in or not? You know what I mean? And I was just like so tired and so over it. Like, I was just like, this is a waste of my freaking time. Like, that's what I was like. I was like, I don't even care. I don't want your stuff. Get me out of here, whatever. But they were honestly very kind. It was just, it was just something that I honestly was not prepared for.
Wow. Well, we're proud of you. Give her a hand because that's not easy. No wonder they have emotional support there. It's like reality TV. They just want to break you down. They want the cameras in your face, sweat and crying. So we're proud of you. You've done good things, okay? Now, I want to switch the focus a little bit to going back to the vision. I think this is something that's so important if you're here in the audience too, and you have a family, which you're a new mama, you're a mama 4, you got twins, we got a lot of kids on the stage. So how do you make sure that the family or your partner, your support partner is just as much aligned with your why and your vision because it takes sacrifice?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in everything you do, you just have to show who you are and what you represent. You know, it's a crazy story. And speaking of my kids, so we advertise on the radio, and I thought it would be a really cool thing to take my kids down the radio, and I wanted to put them on a commercial. But how I did it was something crazy. So I said, when they got in there, I said, I just want you to talk and tell me what you think mom does for a living. I was just curious on myself because my kids know I work a lot. They've been in my office, they've been everything. So they all three got on the radio. My oldest one wasn't there. And what came out of their mouth was so touching. And it was, to me, I had to take a step back because I said, wow, they do get why I do this. It was, my mom helps people get into homes and have families. You know, what they said, and it played on the radio, and I had people tell me that it was their most favorite commercial because it was authentic, it was real, it was not scripted, but really curious. I wanted to know what they thought I did. So I would have to say that at that point, I knew they knew my why. And then my husband works with me every day. God bless him.
And you're like, why
Yeah.
are we?
Well, I don't know.
Brandon, how about for you?
So I started laughing when you wrote the question, or when you said the question, because my kids, they have come into work with me, right? And we have a game room at 1AZ, so they're down there playing games and using the massage chairs and all that. But they're like, Dad, you're the CEO of this whole thing. What do you do? And this was last summer, right, when I first started. And so I tried to explain to them what I did, and they got it. They got it. At that time, they were 12 years old, almost 13. My wife, on the other hand, it's a hard job. You guys know this. I mean, there's a lot of hours. You guys know this. You're trying to build your business. You're trying to take phone calls. You're trying to, serve whoever you're serving. And so sometimes you have to find another bus for these people. And that's what happened to me. So I'm divorced. So that's, helped her find a new bus. But my kids,
We're bringing up some trauma tonight.
yeah. But my kids understand it. They understand. They come in, there's 300 people in the building. They've gone to some of the branches. So they see all the people that we're impacting, but not her.
So to wrap that up, find someone that aligns with the vision. Alignment, very important with your partner. Allison.
It takes a tribe.
It does.
It takes a tribe with raising children and having that business. It really resonated what you said to me about having those few people that told you like, hey, you're onto something here. Every customer message, this is really cool comment, it really means something. Especially in those times where you're like, why am I doing this? I'm freaking crazy. And so I'm very fortunate to have a very supportive family, very supportive husband. I don't think I'd be able to do what I do today otherwise. And so I'm very, very grateful for having that and having such a good tribe to support me, even on my darkest days.
All right, to wrap this all up and really take it from why the vision action of this. I know, Brendan, you mentioned in your keynote strategy behind it, but for you have this idea, I want to open up my own team. I want to get things going with my vision. What could you give advice to everyone in the room when they have this strong why, they want to get started in something, they have an idea, how do you then create the action, the most important step?
I would say don't be afraid. Go for it. People may tell you that your idea is not the way that they would do it. I mean, I used to walk into a room, the mortgage industry was mostly men, and I came in with a different vision and I wanted them to take me seriously. In fact, I used to dress like an old librarian so they would take me seriously, like a nerd. But don't give up on why. Don't give up on your passion and what's going to push you forward, because if you just listen to everyone else and do it their way, you're not going to succeed because you have a passion and only you can get you there.
Brandon?
I talked to I talked during my speech just on some tangible steps, right? Where you could take vision into action. But it's really, really knowing laser focused who you want to be, what you want to be, who you want to serve. And once you figure that all out, it's kind of like what Lisa said, like you are the badass, like you are the subject matter expert. You know what you're doing. You have the passion and you got to live that every single day. And if you do that and you do some of the tangible stuff, you know what the strategy is, you know who you're serving, you know if you're how you're going to create market value, you do some of the things that Monica said, you'll make it. You know, it's you guys who have the passion. And if you live that passion, you live your life with passion, you will, the sky's the limit.
Allison, what are some of your tangibles to get from vision to action?
I agree with both. I mean, I have a very unorthodox way. I feel like just doing it. I don't really have a lot of thought into what I do sometimes. You should see my desk. It's very organized but unorganized. You know, no one else knows how organized it is but me. So I just very unorthodox. I'm just like, I know what I want to do. I know generally what I'm a very big picture person, and I'm just going to figure it out. So I took it day by day. One thing I would encourage is just be fearless. The worst thing people can say is no. And if they say no, okay, great. That's another no closer to a yes, is how I look at it. And so start small and test first. So just do it, test with a small group. Sometimes you think, oh, this is the best idea ever. I'm going to spend all this time and money in doing it, and then it sucks. And then the idea that you just like didn't even think about or didn't even put much thought about, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is like carrying the entire company. Wow, I think I'm onto something. And so I would say before, I guess sometimes you like overthink and you think like, I'm not a professional in what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. People are saying that it's not a good idea. Who am I to do this? You kind of get imposter syndrome sometimes. It's just like before you kind of have those thoughts clouding your mind, just try it. See if people like it and grow from there. And that's kind of like the way that I've grown my business is like I make something, try it. That worked. Make something, try it. Oh, that didn't work. Pivot. Make something, try it, and that worked. And then you just keep on finding that path towards that big why. And just because like that's just how my brain works. I'm not the most, I wish I was organized, but like as long as I'm kind of going to that kind of goal and getting there and figuring it out on the way, that's what I would recommend. So don't get intimidated. The hardest part about it is just actually doing it, I think. And that's where people get scared, you know, it's just like, well, what if I fail? It's going to happen. So just the sooner that you embrace the no's and sooner that you embrace that you will mess up and that's okay. That's how you're going to get better. I think the sooner that you can get to where you want to be.
Love that. With my girl Christina here with the Girl Scouts. Raise your hand, Christina. She taught me the Girl Scouts no means next opportunity. So if we're going to learn anything, learn from them. They are the smartest entrepreneurs I've ever met in my life. Now, I have so many more questions, but we're actually going to open it up now to you guys for some questions. I hope you are jotting down all of that. We have some volunteers here with the mic, and we just ask you if you do have a question, it's your moment. Please stand up, speak clearly into the mic, ask your question. If it's specific to a person, please address them, and we'll get this party started. Any takers?
Hey guys, my name's Noah Ballingham. Brandon, this question's for you. I was curious, what are your key objectives for implementing a wellness program at 1AZ Credit Union?
My key objectives for implementing a wellness program. So I will give 1AZ a lot of credit. 1AZ has had a wellness program for many years. It's the brainchild of Taya, who's in our talent management department. But I think holistically, wellness and why companies do it is it's about the whole self, right? I mean, you're no good to an organization, you're no good to your family, you're no good to a community if you're unhealthy. And wellness programs kind of take different shapes. I mean, we have a gym reimbursement program, and there's that, and then there's counselors, and then there's mental health, and it takes different shapes. But It's really about the holistic self. And, I want your whole life is not your work. And if you make it your whole life, like I have for many years, then you're not healthy. You're not healthy mentally. You're not healthy physically. And so to me, that is the most important objective, is to make sure that my staff, my team is there for their kids and their why. Because oftentimes organizations are a means to the end. And I understand that. Even though you were trying to build a purpose-driven organization, sometimes it is a means to an end. And they have another why that they're trying to live their purpose. And so by implementing something like that, you're helping them fulfill it.
Another question. Don't be shy. Raise up that hand. Can't really see the audience. I'm sorry.
I got one right here. Really, any of you could answer, but I'm curious, what's your way of approaching each day? Lisa, I'll ask you because we're in a similar industry, same industry. What's your approach to getting people to buy in and day out? Because it is a challenge to stay motivated and to follow vision and follow leader, not just from day one, but long periods of time through.
Get to know your people. They're not just employees. They're a part of you and they're a part of your mission, and you need to understand them and get to know them. And I think it's so important to not only know what their goals are professionally, but what are their personal goals? What are their family goals? And are you asking them, are you holding them accountable? Hey, how's your family doing? I know you said that you wanted to go to 5 of your son's soccer games. Are you meeting that? I think it's really investing in them and looking beyond what they can provide you, and really invest in their family and what they care about. So I know so many companies set company goals, but are you asking them what their personal goals or their family goals are? And then asking them how they're doing with them.
Allison, after what happened on Shark Tank and feeling like you needed to prepare more, what did you do for the next time you went and made a pitch? What kind of improvements did you feel like was really important, and what did you take away from that experience?
Well, funny thing is I never made a pitch since. I'm just kidding. It's not funny, but I mean, it's just like, I think I learned a lot from that in saying, I think what I learned is like, prepare for the worst, I guess. Like after that, I kind of had this innate fear of like the worst happening all the time. Before, I used to be bulletproof. I never feared what the worst could happen. That, and at my time and my perception, was the worst thing that could have happened that I did not plan for. And I think that's kind of like stuck with me since that. And especially after what I went through in COVID and stuff like that, that was a whole thing. I've always like thought like, what is the worst that could happen? And so sometimes like when it comes to having a hard conversation, when it comes to like, I just flashed back to COVID. I used to have stores too. And right before COVID happened, I invested in opening 2 stores. I was running all these things all on my own. I have no outside investors. I was bootstrapped, self-funding. I was working, I don't know how many hours in a week, whatever that is. And I had to make the tough decision to close the stores and, have these tough conversations with people like how to get by. And I'd always think before I'd call or talk to somebody, like, what's the worst they could say? And then I think about that and I'm like, the worst they could say is no. Okay. All right. Or the worst they could be is mad at me or something. And so I've learned to just prepare myself mentally of what it could be. And then, since the worst has never happened since then, and so my biggest fear that I had that I developed from that never happened. And so I think that's how I've kind of come back from that. And if I were to pitch again, which I'm probably thinking of doing, who knows? Let's see. Been, bootstrapped for almost 10 years now, but, I think that's what would be changed. I'd be definitely way more prepared, more coached, and like, what's the worst that could happen? And let's prepare for that. So when it does happen, I'm ready.
You kind of just fail forward. You learn from that moment, and maybe you'll be on Shark Tank again. Is that what you're teasing?
Maybe.
Hi, my name is Leslie, and I have a quick question for either of you. Can you all talk, can any of you talk about, can you see me? I'm over here, okay. Oh, okay. So can any of you talk about your journey as a solopreneur? And I'm kind of stealing this from E-Myth Revisited, how you had to wear the multiple hats of the technician, the manager, and then the entrepreneur. Talk about that journey and then the shift that you had to take to then lead and build a team.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I like that question. So one of the toughest things that I learned being a business owner that no one teaches you is when to know how, when to hire, when to fire. Like no one teaches you that. When you have a passion and you have an idea for a business, like you said, you're just going to go for it and you know that you believe in what you do. But as you start to grow, you have to understand that you can't do it on your own because you're taking away what your passion is by doing all these little things that you could have someone else do. I mean, I can admit it. I was the worst delegator. My husband will tell you that. He pushed me to delegate for so long. And so that was something I've always struggled with. And I've gotten better over the years because I realized by hiring the right people and trusting in them, I can actually now be a better version of myself and we can actually grow. So I love that question because that's the one thing that they don't teach you when you want to become a business owner is when to hire, when to fire. And I think you just have to realize at what point can you need to realize at what point are you doing all these other things that are taking away from how you can grow your company. And that's when you need to hire people to come in and do that. I hope that answered your question.
Have someone at the front here. But that is a hard transition. I mean, I haven't experienced yet, but you have your vision that you want to play out and you want everything to go in the way, in the manner in which you desire. And then you have to have the trust of who you're hiring to implement that because you can't do all the things at once. Definitely. There's someone in the front. Yeah.
Hi, this is Enrique. This question is mainly for Allison, but of course, anyone else can feel free to jump in. My team and I are developing a mobile app. As the founder, I'm the one leading the venture, fulfill its potential, its vision. I have no technical experience. So we have the CTO. He's been an amazing addition to the team. But in terms of the business side, I feel a little lost. I feel like everything else is going pretty well, but as we are approaching our launch date, I don't know, I was wondering if in your experience, maybe you do have a full business background, but how did you approach that from developing your product or what you have, but then, approaching businesses? Also, we started as a business to business as well. So like approaching bigger businesses, like this one guy, like why would we partner with him, But yeah, I was hoping you could about.
So you're nervous.
Yeah, indeed.
I love that. I feel like when you are, this is kind of when you go back to the why. Why did you do this? You gotta, I think there's an episode of Grey's Anatomy where they're like, do the Superman pose. You gotta do that. You know what I mean? You gotta talk to those people, like your tribe. There was like, why am I cool again? I just need to be gassed up. Like you need to get gassed up. This is cool. You made this, you created this, and you can you just really got to remember why you did that. Get yourself up, and then I think what you got to do too is like do things that bring you joy. Like write down all the things. Sometimes I'm like, man, this is getting really like I feel uninspired. I feel like I'm lost in my own company. Like, what do I even do here every day? Like, does it matter and stuff like that? I think I always go back to the why I did it, and do the things that bring me joy to kind of like find that joy and that spark and the excitement of like why you started everything in the first place. And so, and sometimes, if you're in a position where it's like, I feel like I can't be authentic in that and I'm not in a personal place where I can represent that, tag your teammate to do it. You know what I mean? Have someone in your organization do it for you. Sometimes that's just the reality of how it is. You know, you're just not in a place to be able to do that. But you know, I'd say just it's easier said than done and being fearless. But again, like the exercise that I do is just like, what's the worst that can happen? They could say no. Okay, if they say no, ask somebody else. And like the more no's you get, the sooner you get to that yes, and you'll find someone that's a great fit. And then just remembering, like, you know, aligning, like, does this person align with our values? Is it a good match? You know, sometimes you just want to get a quick grab. It's like, yeah, this will get me by today, but is it good for the long run? You know, and sometimes it hurts to do now, but it's probably the best for the long run. And so just remembering that why, I think, and kind of grounding yourself and doing things that make you joy to kind of get that excitement, and getting with your tribe to kind of like get that, I think is the best thing to do. And just to take it day by day, because sometimes like it's hard, you know. And I just remember during COVID, like it was so bad. I would just come in the store every day and sit there for 5 hours and do nothing. And what brought me back to life was just reaching out to other people for help and talking to other business owners. And that's something else that I would actually totally recommend, is just being vulnerable. You're probably thinking like, I effed up. You know, what I did is like not normal. I'm embarrassed. I should not do this. Who am I to think I could do this? But then you talk to other people and everyone's like, yeah, welcome to my Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Yeah, that's what I think every single day. So you're like, oh, sick. And then, you know, it's like, oh, this is normal, you know? So that's something else that I found out too, is just reaching out to others, being vulnerable, and then finding the little things that bring you joy again. And remembering the why.
I think we have some questions virtually coming through as well.
Thank you. One of our virtual attendees, Laurie Lynn, is asking a question for Allison. She would love to have some tips on pitching to big box businesses.
Oh, okay. Pitching to big box businesses. I would say you got to act like your shit don't stink. That's the only thing I could think of that comes to mind. You know what I mean? Like, I have you need this. You don't even know you need this, and this is why you need this. You really got to get gassed up and just remember the why. Why am I doing this? This is so cool. The differentiator for my product, we're huge into differentiation. We have changed the average sugar cube. Now, the average sugar cube is your cocktail mixer, your latte maker, your mimosa maker. It's your ultimate hostess gift. You are a bartender now. And isn't that the people that you sell to? Do you not like making money? And so, you know, I think it's, again, you just ask, they say no, cool, next. You just ask, you say no, cool, next. And that's just what happened. And honestly, like, if you just keep doing what you're doing, and you tell other people the things you're doing, where you want to be, your vision, it comes back to you. You know, you go to these events, you network with somebody, and you're like, you know, this is what I want to do. I want to get into hospitality. Then you happen to bump into someone like, well, I'm the buyer of Neiman Marcus. That's cool. Tell me more. Or I know something. So I would say networking is really big into getting into big box retailers. Going to trade shows is really big. That's where you actually get face to face with a lot of these buyers. And that's where we met a lot of our big box buyers. And then the one thing I would caution about with big box retailers is just like stick to your guns, know your worth, know how much your product is worth. And, you know, they're going to ask some crazy stuff, and you got to be comfortable with saying no. And sometimes they're like, I want X% off. And you're just like, no. And they're like, fine, we'll take it all, you know? So, so just remember the why, and be firm on yourself. And sometimes, you know, we've had big sparkly things come by and it didn't align with our values. We said yes, and that was the biggest mistake ever. So I've made those mistakes too, or like, yeah, sure, you can have that. Yeah, sure, we'll pay for shipping. Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm paying you. Like, this is not how it works. So I've learned those lessons too. Just because they are X, Y, and Z, and you're like, oh, exposure, whatever. It's like, is this paying the bills? Didn't think so. Is this worth the time and the effort and the value that I put on this product of my time and our team's time? No. And so if it aligns, it aligns. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'd say to kind of circle back, networking, trade shows, cold calls, all of it. Worst you can say is no.
We have one more from the virtual, if we can just ask. This is a question for all the panelists. Sylvia says, thank you all for sharing your journeys and your why. Often the imposter syndrome becomes one of the barriers for entrepreneurs. Have you experienced it, and how have you overcome it to reach your success?
Yes, I experience this every day. I do have major imposter syndrome, and sometimes I have to step on and be like, they're like, how much are your cubes worth? And I'm like, and we're going to be introducing Jesse, who will tell you all about our stuff and how much we charge, and because I personally struggle with that. And so again, like what keeps me is just surrounding yourself with people looking at what you did. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, you can get wrapped up and you're like, I did nothing all day. But when you actually write down all the accomplishments, you're like, okay, that's pretty cool. Like, I'm a badass. Like, I did some stuff. I should be proud of it. So I would say just remember those times, celebrate the little wins. All those little wins count, and make smaller bite-sized goals, especially if you're kind of a big picture person like me. Because sometimes I'm like, I never reached my goal. And it's like, well, that was a crazy goal.
The same. I have imposter syndrome every day. This financial institution or this leader or this person, or this whatever is doing X, Y, and Z, and it's a journey. It really is a journey to know yourself and to stay grounded, to know why you're on this planet, to know why you're a badass, and stay rooted in that. And if you do that, and it's a journey, it is not okay, when you wake up and you're fixed. It's a journey. And the reality is that who gives a rat's whatever that someone else is doing something, right? It's you're doing what you want to do to live your purpose, and you are the subject matter expert. You can do it. And that's all that matters in life and everything. We had a class of interns today that graduated, and one of the questions I asked them is like, I didn't mean for it to be so philosophical, but I was like, what's the purpose of life? And Christina, my new chief people and culture officer, she's like, wow, that was philosophical, but I didn't really mean it like that. I was they're 20 years old or 21 years old, and if you're living your purpose, who cares how much people make and how successful they are and everything else. And it's so easy for me to sit up here and say that because I struggle with it every day. It's a journey, and as long as you stay grounded and you know why you are awesome, none of the other stuff matters.
I'd agree with both of you. And to kind of go off of what you just said, and remember that it's your journey, no one else's journey. You're where you are at because of you. And I think that's so important, because you could get lost in, oh, this person is doing this and they've achieved this, and why am I not getting there? But you're where you're supposed to be. And if you keep pushing, you're going to get there. And stop worrying about what other people. Keep your head up and don't be afraid to fall or fail, because I feel like the most times I've ever learned or grow is when I fail. And instead of being afraid to fail, I am okay with learning how to pivot and grow from that.
That just reminded me of, since it's the Olympics, that image of Michael Phelps. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but it's the perfect imagery of tunnel vision and not looking left and right. And there's a photo of him, and he's just stride by stride looking straight ahead, and his competitor is looking at him. And we don't know his name because he didn't win. I don't remember him, but he's not Michael Phelps. But it's just a true depiction of stay in your lane. Your vision is yours. It's on your heart for a reason, and it's yours to live out. And if once you start focusing on everything around you, the shiny objects that you touched on, Brandon, and the comparison, especially this day and age, everyone's an entrepreneur and they're winning at life. It's not true. it's hard. And just to really stay focused on that, I think that's the importance here. And how great that we have a night like tonight where you're not alone in this journey. I know entrepreneurship can be and feel lonely, but you have to handle. Give it up to them for opening. I feel like we got really deep tonight. We got really deep. We faced some traumas tonight. The vulnerabilities were real, but that's what's real here. And I hope you guys spend the time after discussion here, meeting them after the program and just mingling amongst one another. And I think, you raised the question, if I feel so, nervous or alone, or how do I do this? Look around, touch of people on that may look a little different, but everyone is here willing to help you through this because you are not alone, especially 48 Foundation. Give it up, panelists. Thank you. You guys can exit the stage. Thank you guys so much. We're just going to wrap a few notes here. Ooh, hot mic. Sorry about that. We're going to just wrap it up here. And as you can see, again, the importance of the State 48 Foundation is to bridge the connection. And as much as we'd like to be such a resource for entrepreneurs, there are already so many organizations, especially here tonight across our state, offering their support to you business owners. So each week we will highlight different organizations across the valley, and they'll be set up right here in our vendor village. So if you guys exit here after the program, you'll be able to mingle, get in touch with them, and just know that you have a place and a resource for you going forward, like the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, ASU Edson, ENI Institute, City of Phoenix Planning and Development Department, and of course, 1AZ Credit Union. We can't thank them enough. And a few more notes before we end here. A reminder to all attendees in person and virtual that you will receive a survey after tonight via email. It will be sent out tomorrow. So if you don't receive one, please check your spam folder. Sometimes it sneaks in there before reaching out to our organizers. And lastly, as you walk around tonight, you will see there are codes, various codes, QR codes that you can scan. That's a way that you can contribute financially if it's on your heart to do so. Any support obviously helps, keeps these amazing events free for you just to get the value and knowledge here in this community. So one more time, thank you to our panelists, all of our sponsors. Thank you for taking the time and joining us here tonight. We'll see you next session. Navigating Essentials, Finance, and Legal Insights will be on Wednesday, August 14th. Same time, same place. Thank you all for tonight. Appreciate it.